Good morning, everyone. I am so happy to have you here to check out how we are going to put together our Instagram story using Canva. Canva is our tool of choice. It's what we like to use to create all of the content that you see on our social media channels, and we totally recommend it for anything that you do as well. It's simple and easy to use. My name is Greg Robbins. I am the Executive Director of the Beauty Council, and I'm glad to have you here. So let's just take a look at what we've done. On this particular version of this layout, we've created what's called a Instagram story, and you do that from Canva on your homepage, and you basically just create a new project. And in this case, we chose an Instagram story. There are templates over here, but we started from scratch. So let's just take you through the whole piece. I'm just going to scroll through it so you can get an idea of what it is we've got. It's 1 minute long, this story, and it is made up of these cards here. So essentially what you do is you just add new cards, and each new card becomes sort of a section of video. I'm going to walk you through basically just a high level view of what we've done to create this story so that you just get a good idea of how it is assembled and the way that we put it together. Um, to start with, I am going to play the whole thing so that you can see it. So here we go. I'm just going to give you the piece. It'll be 1 minute long, complete with audio. All right, so that's the whole piece. It is 1 minute long. I'm just going to close this. The object of this particular story was just to demonstrate how some of these elements that we have available to members, specifically here, these spring sort of iconic sort of graphic pieces, can be integrated into anything that you want to put together for your social media. Now, in this particular case, we wanted to focus on something that would be appropriate for spring, and this is sort of a mock-up of what you may be able to do for your own business. So for example, you could have a model image, you could talk about your spring savings, and then put these little elements in just to give a little bit of color and pizzazz to your story. So let's just quickly go through. We're not going to go into detail in this particular video, but we're just going to show you essentially how we put it together. So let me show you how we put together the first opening slide. The idea was we wanted to not have the focus on the model or the image, but rather the benefits or the features that we have to offer. So created a text box up here, unique artwork for spring promotions. And then we have another textbook here, or text book box here, and our logo. Now, all of these elements here that you see, the logo and all of these are called PNG format, so .png. And .png means that when you place a graphic element on, let's say, another image or a background, it doesn't show through. So in this particular instance, we've only got the actual visual part here, and then everything else is transparent. So that is called a PNG file. I'm sure you've seen it before. Now, we placed an image here, which we do have in our upload library. And what we did with this model was we actually just brought back the transparency a little bit. So once we put the image here, we went up to the transparency panel and we made it 37%. If you increase the transparency, it does become a little bit bolder and more obvious. But for this particular instance, we just wanted to keep it more along the lines of something that would be sort of a background and not detract from our main message, which is the artwork. Then the next screen that goes down is we actually leave that image in place. What we did was we actually just chose this, which duplicates the particular artwork page, and then it makes a second page. The advantage there is that we actually have the model in the exact same position. So she hasn't changed at all. The only difference is we took her from 37% transparency to full transparency. So she is now totally 100% in the picture. So she kind of transitions from being behind sort of a white haze and now comes to the fore because we want to actually showcase the actual piece. Then what we did was we brought one of our elements over here, and basically all you do is just tap it and it will end up over on your image, and then you can drag and place it wherever you like. The other thing we wanted to do was just put a fun little element here, which was one of these animated items. Again, basically just tap it and it will then appear, and then you can spin it if you like, resize it as you wish, and there you have it. So that goes on top. Again, .png format, so you've got that transparency here. Um, so the purpose of this was just to show you that, these can sit on top of an image and they're nice and clean. Then what we did was we kind of made it a bit more complex and we added a little bit of animation. So in this particular instance, we just resized the three images. We just put three kind of in a row here, and along with some text. So this could be something that you could have on your own Instagram here. Now we did add some animation. Let me just show you how that works. Basically, if I were to touch an image here or tap on the image, you'll see that this would have normally read animate, and now it actually shows you what the animation is. So I'm going to tap it here, and we're going to see it's a pop. So it actually, what it does is it does that. That sort of, it pops out, and you can animate it either when you when you load the image in the beginning, when you leave the image, so it can kind of pop out, or on both. I chose both just because because this is a transitional piece from slide to slide, it looks good when they pop in and then they pop out. I would like to just point out right now, there is another piece that we put in here that is sort of a like a visual sort of rule in graphic design or in design in general, and this is called the diagonal. So I'll just take a quick moment right now to just talk a little bit about that. There is a visual design theory that talks about the importance and the attractiveness of a diagonal in an image. And you'll notice here that we position the model in the frame in such a way that there's a clear diagonal that runs right from this corner through kind of the main features of her, down through this little flower and off to the edge. So this creates a very visually pleasing setup, and I highly recommend it for any particular image that you use. Is if you can achieve a diagonal from one corner to the next or from this corner to that, it goes a long way to make your image look really beautiful. The second piece is the other sort of design tip that I'd like to throw in here, is your background. A lot of times we do come across like text on background, and if you put the text on someplace that's complex, it gets hard to read. This is a little bit easier to read because it has sort of a flare around it, but really if you put it against an uncomplicated background like this, you will have the best results. Easy to read, not a lot of clutter, stands out by itself, and it can be ignored as well too. In other words, it doesn't get in the way of something you may be looking at. So that's how we did that animation. And then I duplicated that slide, then substituted the image. Again, you'll see a couple of the elements. There is that diagonal. It's not perfect, but it does come down through here with the model. So we're taking advantage of that design piece where in the previous one, the diagonal was from top right to bottom left. This one, it is from top right to, or top left to bottom right. Again, flowing nicely a little bit with the flowers. I actually might move this one a little bit over just to kind of open it up a little tiny bit and to get away from the model's face and features, and also just away from the hair, which is probably what you're looking to sell. So that was another piece, same animation as well. And then I just brought down this one, again, duplicated, brought in another model, again with the diagonal, again, text on a sort of a simple background, the same way that we did here, kept the text just on a simple background so it wasn't conflicting with anything behind it. This this image here is actually, it's a little more sort of serious. It has a little bit of a different tone to it. So we didn't put so many elements on it, and the elements are not quite as bright and let's say cheerful as the rest. So if you take a look at some of the elements we have here, we've got all sorts of bright flowers. They tend to work better with the other models. These ones look a little bit better with something a little more toned down. Then we just went straight into something totally different. Let's say, for example, you have maybe some products that you want to, put on special or offer. You could place them in this sort of format, like in a follow-up piece where you have maybe two or three images of products that you can pop in. So have your text up here and then your image. Now in this image, we animated this a little bit differently. We call this one the breathe, which is a lovely little way of sort of bringing an object into the frame on a fade and then bringing it in slowly. It gives you that nice bit of interest that keeps people engaged and looking and adds a bit of movement. A lot of times we see stories with not a lot of movement, or there's some movement and then it kind of goes to a still, which is fine. It's just that if there's ongoing movement, it does keep the viewer engaged and holds them from swiping away. If you ever go to a movie, you'll see a lot of movement. Very rarely, in a great movie, is there just no motion on the screen at all. It almost never happens. So think of stories as little tiny miniature movies where you want to keep the viewer engaged and some sort of motion on the screen. And essentially, this was really easy because we just brought it in and then duplicated it and then dragged in the new element. So Canva really excels at that. We don't have to change anything. If we wanted to change this one, we could just bring it in and drag it like that. It's just a wonderful, easy, and simple way of making things very quickly. Just to shake it up a little bit, wanted to put in a slightly different image to not just be, graphics. It might not hold the attention. So this one we did put an image in here. Again, you see the diagonal. You can see we use it often actually. There are actually two diagonals in here, but this is the main one. With the animation here, we did something slightly different. We did what's called a pan, which brings the object into the frame and then it'll pan it out. So we did animate both in and out on this one. Again, just adds a little bit of visual interest and is sort of more suitable to this kind of framing, or sorry, this kind of image. Simple once again, just brought in these pieces, duplicate and change, and then at the end, we just have this closing piece. So we've got 12 frames, each at 5 seconds long, which equals 60 seconds. So you've got your nice tight 1 minute Instagram story. With Canva, you can save this project, duplicate the whole project, and just change it around. So if you have a brand sort of look and feel that you really like and enjoy, or it works well for you, then simply reactivate it and put in your new elements. I hope you've enjoyed this. I'm more than happy to do a follow-up piece. If you'd like, leave a comment below. Just let us know if you'd like us to do like a follow-up on this one, and we can describe in detail how to lay these out, how to import images, and set up a frame so that then you could go ahead and duplicate and edit as you wish. I'm just going to end this here. I'm going to play it. Thank you so much for tagging along, and I hope you've taken something away from today.